Everyone enjoying their breakfast? We're going to change things up a little bit this year, and I want to introduce you to two people who I'm sure you know, but if you don't, the Executive Director of St. Vincent de Paul, Steve Zabilski. So good to see you, Steve.
Thank you, Mark.
And the Chief Development Officer, Shannon Clancy. And I thought that we would take a few minutes up here this morning just to talk about the good work from a personal standpoint that St. Vincent de Paul does. And Steve, we're going to start with you. How do you respond when people say that the good work that this organization does is nothing more than a Band-Aid?
I do hear that, Mark, from time to time from people, and I know they're well-intentioned when they say that, but I think the reality is they probably aren't that involved with St. Vincent de Paul. I guess what I would say is, tell the young girl who's just come into our dental clinic, who hasn't slept in a day or two, who's struggling in school because her mouth is so full of pain, and who Dr. Schneider then takes care of and fixes, that's not a Band-Aid, Mark. Or the veteran who leaves Ozanam Manor having been there for 3 or 4 months, who now has a job and a place to live, and some hope and dignity in her life or his life, or the family in the video that we just saw, who we can help them with their rent, their utilities, bring them food. Those aren't Band-Aids. These are giving people a chance to keep their life going, to be productive members of society. I guess I would also add to that. Maybe someone who comes in our dining room every single day and eats, sure, someone can say that's just a Band-Aid, but look at the man in the video. He said, I'm sober since October 5th. His life is changing. We can meet people where they're at in their life and help them. So I reject this idea that it's simply a Band-Aid.
So the old adage, give a man a fish, give a man a fishing pole, teach him how to fish.
Yep.
And at St. Vincent de Paul, you hand out fishing rods.
We certainly do.
Shannon?
I guess I would also add, Mark, that sometimes you do need Band-Aids to stop the bleeding. Sometimes you do. You can't move forward until you take care of the basic needs that you have. But I think that when people just see that part of St. Vincent de Paul, that they're missing it. Because it's not necessarily the work that we do, but how we go about doing it. And Dr. Snyder just talked about that. It's in relationship. It's building connections between people. The man in the video wanted to share that with Jerry. He wanted to let him know that he was sober. He wanted someone to see that in him. And that really is the impact and the power that St. Vincent de Paul has in the work of our volunteers and staff and making those connections with people.
There isn't a day that any of us drive to work or to our homes or to our schools or to the grocery store where we don't see someone asking for money. It's the world that we live in. There are people who are hungry. Steve, when we see these people, what should we do?
I wish I had an easy answer for that, Mark. That's a difficult question, and I know I'm seeing it more. I can't remember the last time I got off a freeway off-ramp and haven't had people, sometimes on both sides of the freeway, asking. You want to help. I mean, frankly, if you give somebody $1 or $2, that's the Band-Aid, Mark. That's the Band-Aid that people would talk about. But if you could do more for them, if you could ask them where they slept that night, where they're spending the night, where they're staying, where they're getting their food. We have what we've developed, need-a-hand cards that has St. Vincent de Paul's phone number and address on them. We put them at the table today for people. If you give that person a need-a-hand card and he or she chooses to use it, they have to want to use it. If they come down to St. Vincent de Paul, we'll help them get their life back going.
Shannon, there are probably some misconceptions about the good work that St. Vincent de Paul does. Can you clear some of that up?
I guess I would say, Mark, one of the biggest misperceptions is that people see the impact of St. Vincent de Paul and they see the food boxes, the number of food boxes we give out, or the number of meals that we serve, or the dental or medical visits, or the nights in our homeless shelter, but it's really how all that happens. That happens with the work of our volunteers. And often the greatest transformations at St. Vincent de Paul happen in the hearts of our volunteers. When people come in and they work in our dining room or in our kitchen or at Ozanam Manor or in our clinic, they leave a different person. They're changed by their experience, and St. Vincent de Paul is a place in the community, we believe, that all of us can come and find that meaning and joy that we all seek, really that big hunger that Dr. Snyder was talking about that we all have. That's met at St. Vincent de Paul in our volunteers, and it's so important and so, often so hidden.
I will tell you that a funny thing happens when you get involved with these folks. I've had the good fortune of doing this breakfast for a few years, and I will tell you that over that amount of time, it never ceases to amaze me how much good it does me to help out. How many of you out there are first-timers here at this breakfast? Let me just see a show of hands. Do any of you, raising your hands, just in the short amount of time you've been here this morning, feel different? Do you feel what's happening here? These are good people, and they will affect your life, and they will change your life, I promise you, for the better. Steve, you see a lot of tears. You see a lot of pain. What keeps you up at night?
Probably, Mark, I guess the fact that we help a lot of people. Our kitchen, 3,000-4,000 meals a day, in our clinic, 15,000 patient visits a year. But we could double that, Mark. We could triple that, except for the fact that we just don't have the funding. We just don't have the food. Our clinic runs a lottery because there's so many patients for the few slots that we have. And if we had more funding, we could keep it open at night. Right now we have it one night, but more nights, weekends. We could give people twice the amount of food, twice the number of people. Our 85 parish conferences, sometimes they can't even answer the phone because there's so many people calling them that there's so many more people we could help. These are good people, good people. If you knew these people, Mark, you would help them. You would help them. This isn't people that are just that want to take advantage of people's generosity. They're good people, and if you knew them, you would help them.
Let me tell you something. I look out here and I see people that are ready to step up and help you. I have faith that these people here this morning and in the coming weeks will be there for St. Vincent de Paul. Shannon, why do you keep doing this? There are probably 1,000 things you could be doing.
Some days what keeps me awake at night, Mark. Yeah, ask yourself some days. I think, Mark, it would come down to an experience that I had a long time ago. When I was right out of college, I worked at a transitional shelter for homeless families in California. And there was a family there with 5 children, 2 parents, so there were 7 of them. And they had stayed there a long time, and they had gotten a number of extensions, and they weren't able to move forward. And the staff made the decision to ask them to leave. And that was really hard. And I can still hear the 15-year-old daughter sobbing in the office, and the mom saying, "We don't have anywhere to go." And the day came for them to leave, and I just couldn't face it. And there was a knock at my door, and I open it up, and it's the 15-year-old daughter. And she has tears in her eyes, and she says, "I came to say goodbye, and I just want to thank you. I just want to thank you." And she gave me a little hand-painted seed cross. She had had one. I told her it was lovely, and she gave me the same one. I still have it. And what I realized that in the moment she healed me, because what I had seen as a failure, she saw as something beautiful, because I cared about her. And I suffered with her, and I cried. I cried with her too. And it taught me something really important that I haven't forgotten. And that's that, in many ways, it's why I probably am here today in this chair in Phoenix, is because it's not the services, it's not the feed, clothe, house, heal that are most important. It is that love and compassion that are shared, and it's that willingness to walk through someone's pain, even though we can't always fix it. And there's maybe one thing worse than struggling and really being in hard times, and that's being alone in it. And no one should have to be alone in it. And that's why we do what we do at St. Vincent de Paul. That's why we keep doing what we do, so that no one has to be alone in that struggle. And it's a gift. It's a privilege for us to be part of it.
Even now, so many years later, I can see the pain. I don't know if all of you can see the pain on this woman's face, but it is the heart of a woman like Shannon, and the heart of a man like Steve, and the hearts of so many people who are out here that can make a difference. And how many of us in our day-to-day lives can say, when we go to bed at night, I made a difference today. And that's what St. Vincent de Paul does every single day. Every single day. No days off for St. Vincent de Paul. I made a difference. And as we head into this season of giving, hopefully all of you will be with family on Thursday next week for Thanksgiving. We're getting into the giving business at 12 with Turkey Tuesday. And it's an important time because this is the time of the year, Steve, where you got to make the hay. It's the giving season. It's not lost on me that this year Arizona is hosting the Super Bowl. This is almost the Super Bowl for St. Vincent de Paul.
It is, Mark. Actually, you're right. The Super Bowl is in February. Our Super Bowl starts today at this breakfast. We actually defined the holiday season by the start of the Restoring Hope breakfast today. So, and it's going to be a great month. We've got Safeway's doing a food drive for us. Bashas' is doing a food drive for us. Walmart's doing a huge food drive for us. Fry's is doing a food drive for us. We have the turkey carve-off on Monday. You'll be there. Turkey Tuesday, I think we start at 4:30 in the morning.
We do.
We go till 10 o'clock at night with you announcing the totals, you and Lin Sue. And it's our Super Bowl. It is that season of giving, not just receiving, but giving. And when I think especially of Turkey Tuesday, this will be my 18th one. St. Vincent de Paul's been doing it 24 years. And when people think of Turkey Tuesday, they think of the thousands and thousands and thousands of turkeys we raise. And that's great, and it's what the event is about. But it's really more than that. It's what Shannon was alluding to, this idea of giving and a changed person. I remember this was probably 12, 13 years ago when we were on 7th Street in Osborne at the Bashas there at the 5 a.m. broadcast, and a woman would come with her two very young children, very young, probably second and third grades, and each one of them was carrying a turkey that it was a struggle for them to carry. And you could tell, Mark, just by the way they were dressed and the car they came in, they didn't have a lot. They didn't have a lot. But this mother was teaching this son and daughter about giving. They came the next year, and they came the next year, and they came and I watched these children grow. And you just said Turkey Tuesday is so beautiful because, again, it's not just giving away turkeys, more turkeys, but this mom using that as an opportunity to teach her children. And what I will never forget is probably 5 years ago, we moved the morning broadcast to the Sun City Bashas. That mom and her children drove to Sun City to give us a turkey. It just was, it just is, it's not just the things we do, it's how we do them. And so when I think of Turkey Tuesday, I think of a lot of turkeys, but I think of that mother and teaching her children the joy of giving.
It's putting a face on those in need. It's a time when all of us collectively can make a difference in people's lives. Right here, today, starting now, help this great organization make a difference in the months and in the years to come. With your generosity, you truly can make a difference. Steve and Shannon, thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Thank you, Mark.